Professor V.K. Natraj, Dr. D. Narayana, and Professor R.M. Chintamani. As you all know, this conference is jointly organized by University of Mysore, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Research and Extension Center, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Chair, Manasa Gangotri, Mysuru, and Indian Polity Forum, Mysuru. Now I would like to welcome these three dignitaries to this session.
Thank you very much. Leave it to me. Okay. Thank you very much. God bless you.
In this session, two eminent speakers are going to elaborate on the topic called Solution to Interstate Asymmetry, and also Professor V.K. Natraj is going to moderate this session. Now the session is over to Natraj sir.
Namaskara. This is the worst session immediately after lunch. But anyway, I think Professor Narayana and Dr. Chintamani will be able to keep us awake. So over to Professor Narayana, please make your presentation.
Very good afternoon. Let me first of all thank Professor Natraj and the Ambedkar Center of Mysore University for inviting me for this function. I have a presentation on the one Martira. Dean Alide, mission Alide. Mysore Conference and the title is there. When they switch on the PPT and all, let me, this session is titled Solutions. Let me submit before this body that I am not offering any solutions. So please don't be under the impression that you get solutions for all the problems. No, not at all. Or whatever problems that were discussed in the morning. I think this was a bit, basically the point that I'm trying to make. Oh. No, I think it is 2026, no? 80. Yes. Or after that 2031 budget. So I hope I have not made a mistake. Can you put it on the... Yeah. Okay. Please move on to the next one, please. Next, please. Next set of slideshow. Yeah. Next. Yeah. Now this I don't think I have to elaborate because that's already you have introduced this thing. There is basically apprehension that after delimitation, that the southern states will use the, representation, the strength of representation will go down. That's the apprehension that we have. Second is that resource sharing. The southern states are already getting a much lower share and it will go down further. Now, so that is the question that I'm asking. Will it? And this is the issue that I'm going to discuss. Of course, you already had quite a lot of discussion in the morning, and Professor Govind Rao has helped me greatly because a lot of the things that I'm going to say, I can just skip over that because he had made those elaborate presentations on the different indicators and weights used by the different finance commissions. So I really don't have to labor on them. So next, please. Yeah. So the basic argument is the share in total population of southern states that need not fall. That apprehension that we all have that it will fall and all, it need not fall. That share of southern states need not go down. And there I am using the experience of Maharashtra and Gujarat. I'll elaborate that. That's one of the first things that I will do. Then the horizontal tax sharing formula the finance commissions have used since the 7th commission has as already pointed out by Professor Govind Rao, has a high weight for income distance. That is the reason why the southern states have been losing, because the per capita income growth of the southern states has been much higher than for many other states. So the income distance is coming down. In fact, Professor Rao elaborated it. He gave the example of Kerala and all. So that is the reason why the share has gone down, because when it gets, it has a weight of 50% and the distance is closer to 0, your share will definitely go down. And it's not the population is not, that's not going to make much of a difference. That's a third dimension. That is, with the introduction of GST, the fiscal autonomy of the states has really gone down. And it will further go down if petroleum products and electricity duty and all gets included in that. So that is a worrisome fact, because the states, given their responsibilities, they require some fiscal space or fiscal autonomy to do their own things. I will elaborate it as we go on. Okay, next, please. Yeah. So next. Now, this is a table. I hope you'll have to bear with me. What I have done is, on this side, NGR is population growth rate, natural population growth rate. That is basically birth rate minus death rate divided by, not divided, that is the growth rate. Now you will see, I have given the numbers from this is annual growth rate, 0.90, less than 0.90 to 1.90 and above. That is what the NGR means. On the other side, those numbers already Professor Govind Rao has shown. That is the change in the percentage point between the percentage share of the population in 2011 and 1971. Now, if the population growth rate is lower than the national average, you should obviously expect their share to go down. And if the growth rate, NGR, is higher than the national average, for such states, their population share will go up. You will have a positive number. So what you should ideally expect is, the states falling on the diagonal. That's exactly what you find. You see, if neatly the states are arranged more or less on the diagonal, or there's a very high concentration in the second quadrant, those are losing population share because the growth rate is lower than the national average. And fourth quadrant, where the population growth rate is above the national average, and they are gaining. But, and this is very trivial. You don't require Narayana or somebody else to prepare this table. Anybody can do that. But what I want to focus on is there are some exceptions. There are some states which don't neatly fall in those second quadrant or fourth quadrant. You look at Maharashtra. In fact, fertility reduction wise, Maharashtra has done better than Karnataka, as you will see there, because Karnataka 1.101 to 1.30 in that, whereas Maharashtra is in the lower bracket. But you look at where does Maharashtra fall? Yeah, it's a positive sort of a thing. That's a bit surprising. Why should that happen? So it's actually Maharashtra, Tripura, Sikkim, not so much Gujarat. They should actually attract our attention. And in particular, Tripura and Sikkim, well, small states. So, and also, the very specific sort of a conditions. So you can understand, okay, you can say, oh, Tripura, yes, like that. But Maharashtra is a very large state with relatively low fertility. Despite that, Maharashtra hasn't lost share, population share. That is the important question. That also points to something else. I'll come to that in a minute. I hope this point is clear. Next, please. So when you have that, you look at the population share, what has happened between 1971 and 2011, you will see all those, which were on the fourth quadrant, all those states I have put in the first, Bihar, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, and all. It has increased from 38.557, it has gone up to 42.745 population share between 71 and 2011, a 4 percentage point increase, quite a large increase. And who has lost? It is basically the southern states, Andhra, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, 22.196, come down to 18 point something. But there are some interesting sort of a thing. You look at Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Telangana. Look at the population share. Hardly any change between 1971 and 2011. In fact, a slight increase. And look at Odisha and West Bengal. They have actually lost. So it is not as simple as it is made out to be. And why does this happen? That's because in all these discussions, what is missed out is migration. Migration is because morning, I don't think anybody raised this issue of migration. They were all talking about population share. But migration, actually internal migration. See, there are a lot of people who talk about international migration. Internal migration is manifold times international migration. But we completely ignore it. Even when we face those traumatic sort of a experience, post-lockdown and, all those things, or okay, thank you. So, next please. Now, migration, especially internal migration, such a neglected subject. There's hardly many studies on this. There are problems. There are very serious data problems. And one of the recent reports, 2016-17 economic survey, fortunately, has a chapter which throws some very interesting insights. And what I've done is I've picked one of those tables from that economic survey and basically taken those numbers. 2029, they have this cohort matrix method, which they have adopted. They've also used the train, ticket data to come up with numbers. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but if there are questions, I can talk on that. Now, you see, the interesting thing is that you look at those two columns, 91, 2001 migration and 2001, 2011 migration. See, there are very interesting points. One is, look at the numbers. Maharashtra, 1064,000. Gujarat, not so high, Kerala, then Delhi, of course, I'm not considering Delhi. It's one of the largest, attracts. But then you look at the next period. You see, what has happened is Tamil Nadu has replaced Maharashtra. Where is Maharashtra? Maharashtra's number has dropped to just 5 lakhs. It used to be 10 lakhs, sort of a thing, just come down. It is actually Tamil Nadu and Kerala. And look at Karnataka, which was minus, that they were sending. Now they are receiving. You all know, because we all talk about it. The focus of migration has shifted from the west to the south. And these numbers are very large. This is, mind you, using, 2011 data. We are in 2023, 15 years down the line. And you see the sort of a development that has been taking place in south. Look at Bangalore, look at Hosur, look at Chennai, look at, all those places. Let us get down to this one. So, yeah. So you see the numbers are very large, very, very large. So we cannot afford to ignore that. And next please. And there is actually a problem. Population census data. There is often, this is not new. In fact, we almost know it for the last, in fact, Professor Nagaraj would be able to add more to that. There is serious under-enumeration in population census of migrants. And this is well known. So that is why the numbers you get using population census data, and if you, in fact, the economic survey 2016-17 is a good example, because there, the annual migration numbers, by using census, it's 3.3 million, total India figure. When they use the train ticket data, it becomes almost 11 million. You see, that is the extent of under-enumeration. So many of these states, if you do a proper enumeration, there are problems. If there are questions, I'll come to that. So these numbers are very large. So that is an important. Next. And in fact, there are already signs that South is benefiting in population numbers, even the enumerated numbers. We have, some states are benefiting. Now you look at that. Here, what I have done is, I have given you the shares for these, 5 time points using census data. Look at Maharashtra. As I have said, they have, hardly lost, because Maharashtra's TFR is lower than that of Karnataka. You just compare those Karnataka figures and Maharashtra figures. Karnataka, you see, there's a slight, in fact, it's only in the recent years that there is a slight decline. Otherwise, there is not much of, because Karnataka's fertility was not dropping so sharply. Maharashtra's were dropping sharply. But look at the Maharashtra share, except hardly any change. In fact, it has been increasing. So that is the effect of migration, what it can do. So you don't really have to lose population share because your TFR is low. Migration compensates that. That's the Maharashtra example. Now, look at Tamil Nadu. Now, the recent trend, look at that. Look at Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Both, if you look at the TFR, they are quite comparable. It's not that Tamil Nadu started slightly late, but they have made up. Now, you look at the, the numbers. Kerala lost about 1 percentage point during this period. Tamil Nadu lost about 1.5 percentage point till 2001. But then beyond 2001, you just look at those numbers. Tamil Nadu, there is hardly any change. So already the migration numbers are kicking in. Now, if you carry out a population census today, I think both Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, not so much Kerala. Probably the population share will show an increase. That is the point that I want to make. As far as this whole discussion about, how low fertility, you heard all that in the morning, how we will lose the, number of MPs. My belief is that, backed by these numbers, my belief is that nothing of that sort is going to happen. And if we are clever, we can just turn the table. If there is proper enumeration of all these migrants, in fact, our population share will start moving up, and we should actually argue that after every census, do the delimitation so that, we keep on increasing our numbers. That should be the argument. That's the first point. Next, please. Now let us come down to the other point that, horizontal share, what happens? I don't want to, elaborate a lot on this because already Professor Govind Rao talked about it in the morning. Lot of those things. Next, please. Yeah, all this he covered. How till the Sixth Finance Commission, population was the main indicator, carrying weight up to 75, 80% and all that. But Seventh Commission onwards, it is income distance, which in various forms, carries lot more weight, close to 65, 75. It came down only in the last two finance commissions. Even then, it is about close to 50%. Yeah. So, next please. Now, you see, there is this issue of shares of these states. It's not a new issue. Mr. Guhan, who was associated with MIDS, way back in 1995, he had a very interesting paper. So part of this table is basically copied from, his paper. Now you look at that, what you find is that, you see, as we said, Sixth Commission, population was the indicator which carried almost 75% weight. Seventh Commission, population share, weight becomes 25. Income distance becomes a very important, carrying about 60, 65 percentage weight. See the effect. Sixth Commission, the shares of these high income, I'll explain high and all that later. Look at that. That's like close to the population share. Because when the population, the indicator of population carries a very high weight, your share is equal to your population share. But look at Seventh Commission. When population drops out, income distance comes. Look what happened to the high income states. That's basically Punjab, Haryana, Maharashtra, and Gujarat. Those were the high income states. See, they lost 3 percentage point share in the resources. If you call it devolution pool, you should not be calling it, because those times there was no concept of devolution, but whatever it is, income tax and all those things. But whatever it is, that is what happened. Look at the middle income states. Those are basically southern states plus West Bengal. There's hardly any change. Because at that point, our incomes were not so very high. They were much closer to the average. So we didn't lose anything on that count. So you see, our share didn't drop. We had no reason to complain. In fact, Maharashtra and Gujarat at that point should have complained. But they didn't make it a big issue, but whatever it is. And the low income states, that is, which are also Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Orissa, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh. You see, what the high income states lost, the low income states gained. More or less the same percentage point, 3 percentage point. And then, you'll see what happens. 18 becomes 15, 13, 12, like that. The high income states lose. Next. Now, the interesting thing is, the exercise carried out by Guhan, this is 1995. Then 2009, Mohan and Shaijan. Mohan is now the advisor to Mr. Pinarayi Vijay in Kerala. He was an income tax commissioner, but he had an academic interest, so he has been working on that. Mohan and Shaijan did a paper where they continued discussion on that. I'm not going to cover all that. But the important point, they had an analysis of the movement of per capita incomes. Interestingly, their analysis is from 1980 to 2006. Now, what they showed, even between that period, 85 to 2006, if you look at how high the high income group average compared to the low income, it has increased from 1.86 to 2.4. And middle income to low income ratio, it had gone from 1.25 to 1.25 to 1.87. Already the incomes are widening. Not, earlier it was 1.25 in, 1.25 is not such a great source. But then it had become, by 2006, it has already become 1.87. Next. But what happens? By the time you come to 2011-12, things are changing completely. You can't have that sort of a grouping of high income, middle income, because the states which are falling in that has already changed. High income, Gujarat and Punjab had moved to 6th and 7th position. They were at the top, they had moved down, whereas Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka had moved up. So all that grouping has changed. But by 2019-20, Gujarat again comes back, next to Haryana. But what happened is West Bengal, which was the 5th, had gone down the southern state. So, if you look at what multiple of Bihar's income, that is Haryana to Bihar. That ratio, if you take, already by 2011-12, it was something like Bihar to Haryana was close to 5. And by the time you come to 2019-20, it has become almost 6. You see, that is a sort of a divergence in incomes that was happening. Next, please. So what happens to share? This is what, if I follow Guhan's classification of states, I'm using that, but I am not supposed to use it because now it's not high income, but what you find is something like this. You see, what interesting thing is, if you take the 11th commission onward, the high income states, in fact, they're not losing, because both Maharashtra and Punjab, they are dropping down. That is why that's happening. I'll come to that in a minute, the next slide. Whereas middle income, see, they have started dropping. Middle income is basically southern states, because their per capita incomes were going up, and they are losing, because by 7th commission onward, it is per capita income distance, which was the main indicator. And you see the result. Share, this is what is happening. And who are the gainers? The low incomes. Next. Now that's why I give up that classification of high income, low income. Focus on states. See, Gujarat and Maharashtra. If you look at the 11th to 15th commission, you see they have gained, because two things. One, their population share is not falling. Second, their income growth is lower than the income growth of the southern states. So see what's happening. And South India, see, it's coming down, because on both population share as well as much more the income distance. Their incomes are growing. So you see, this is what happened. Next, please. No, then next. Now I want to, how much time do I have? Okay. Next. Now I want to turn to a slightly different sort of a, issue. Now, you see, the whole argument or the principle that the finance commissions follow, Professor Govinda Rao elaborated on that, that is horizontal fiscal equity. So that irrespective of where a citizen is born, she gets comparable public services of comparable quality. So you do the transfers so that low income states are able to do that. So it is basically a transfer from high income states to low income states. So that is a principle that follows. That equal treatment of all the states. Now this has a long history, because Alexis Tocqueville's observation. In great centralized nations, the legislator is obliged to give a character of uniformity to the laws. They have to follow some principle. So our finance commissions follow horizontal equity. You can't blame them for that. Then what indicators they use, that depends on the understanding of the commission, and you have to grant that to them. So sometimes they will follow population, it will give more weight. Sometimes it may be income distance. I don't think you can say that, okay, this particular commission did it because of this. I don't think I don't think we can say that sort of thing. You will have to leave it to the judgment of the commissions. But whatever it is, you see, by and large, they have followed this equal treatment, horizontal fiscal equalization. Then, as Tocqueville says, you have to follow some uniform sort of a principles, and where they have done. Next. But yes, Vito Tanzi, about 20 years ago, he made a very interesting point. This whole equal treatment is all very fine when your incomes are fairly close. See, I quote from him. When income levels of regions within a country are relatively equal, it is easier to have a well-functioning decentralized system. That sort of a fiscal equalization, it will work well when you have more or less comparable incomes, not so wide as to 1 to 6, as I showed you earlier. Then there is a problem. What is the problem? Next. He highlights, I thought it's very important and very relevant for us, 4 different points. First point, as democratization takes place, it gives more voice and weight to the preferences of specific groups and regions. And the political parties which want to come to power in those regions, they cannot afford to ignore these voices. So the best example is the current Karnataka. And so there is a popular demand for certain things that they, whichever political party just cannot ignore it. Second point, globalization is creating market areas that are no longer identified with national territories. They are integrated with the global market. Look at Bangalore, look at Hyderabad, or even look at Chennai. You look at all those car exports and all, it's all taking, it's basically all these regions are increasingly getting integrated with the global market. So your allegiance is with the global market rather than Delhi. So that's a very important point, very important development. You cannot afford to ignore it. Thirdly, once this happens, the people in those regions, why would they look to Delhi? They are happy looking at Bangalore or Chennai or Hyderabad. They expect the rulers in these places to address their concerns, not so much Delhi. So that is the third point. Fourth, so decentralization, that is power or decisions being made at the local level, that becomes a superior good and the people like it. Fourthly, as incomes increase, also we are talking about digital world, sharing information. So that we are giving 1 rupee tax to the center or to the divisible pool, we are getting back only 47 paise or 30 paise. You hear all these discussions. Earlier, you are not hearing it because now everybody talks about it because the information is available. All that you require is a small thing. You just do this click and you have the information before you. So people will talk more about that and you need to address it in some way or the other. I thought these are the 4 points made by Vito Tanzi. I thought those very, very important points, very relevant. Next. And there is also one other very important point, which is also very relevant for us. In federal countries, this is a point made by Louis Brandeis way back in 1932. But it's not his original point. This was made by somebody 50 years earlier. What he said is that in truly federal countries, lot of things, it's an experimental layer. That's the point that he made. Regions, states, they will carry out their own experiments. They will carry out their own small little sort of a thing. And you need to encourage that. And the federal government or the central government may take it up later or may not, or may convert it in various ways. And in the US case, a number of examples are given. Environmental laws, tax on gasoline, and a whole lot of those things. Next, please. Indian experience is no different. Those of us who talk about midday meal schemes, who started it? It is Tamil Nadu in the 60s, Kerala in the 80s. It was not a central scheme. But then it was taken up by the center. Or you take the employment guarantee scheme, much before the MGNRE years. We had it in Maharashtra, drought proofing, bad times. To take care of their population, they introduced it. Or you look at the insurance. Today we talk about, what's it called? Ayushman Bharat. But how did it start? We had Yashaswini in Karnataka in 2003. And we had something like Arogyasri in Andhra Pradesh. Or, interestingly, most of these were in, some of the southern states. We started this thing. Not from, it was not a central scheme. It became a central scheme only in 2008 when RSBY was introduced. And then, of course, 2017, it becomes Ayushman Bharat. So these were all, quite comparable to the US sort of experience. These were all experiments carried out by the states to meet certain demands or certain felt needs. So but to carry this out, they have to have the fiscal space. They will get that fiscal space if there is fiscal autonomy. Next, please. Yeah, I've almost come to that. So that's why one of the arguments is that when there is a central transfer, there has to be some balance. And I'll quickly go over to the next please. Now you see the problem is the GST has really created a huge problem. Before GST, what did we have? The sales tax sort of a thing, where states had the freedom to choose which goods to tax at what rate. Now it is a uniform sort of a thing. Now, if you have petrol and all coming into that and electricity duty also coming in, then what is the fiscal space that is left for the state if they want to carry out any of these experimentation? They simply don't have the money for that. That is the situation. It's not a very happy situation for a federal sort of a thing. That's where, I concur with the sort of a centralization thing which people were talking in the morning. See, this is the centralization that has been happening. It's not good for any federal sort of a thing for the reason. So 4 reasons which Vito Tansi so beautifully put 20 years ago. Next, please. Yeah. Now, what is the way out? Next. So this whole population thing, I have more or less, I think, argued that we don't really have to worry about it. Only point that we need to take care is that the migrants get enumerated. It is not automatic. Lot of them get left out, neither there nor here. That should not happen. We should make an effort so that they get enumerated. What that effort and all, there are questions, I'll answer that next. Then, on revenue. You see, countries all over the world have implemented GST. So, even within the GST, now it is about 8 years old. We have a functioning GST. So we don't have to have one uniform rate all over India. We really don't have to have that. Have a base rate, allow states to have a SGST, an incremental SGST, which is their choice. If Karnataka says, okay, we will have 2% additional, allow them to do that. If Tamil Nadu says, no, we want 3%, allow to do that. So you don't have to have this uniform 50% goes to centers, a 50% state, that's all. No. Because with the GST and framework and the so-called backbone, with all our IT experts, if with all this we can go and do this Chandrayaan 3 so beautifully, I think sorting out GST and should not be such a big problem. And allow that to happen. I think that will solve that problem of own revenue and give the flexibility or the autonomy for the states to do whatever they want to do. Next, please. Yeah. And it's all the more important to do it because Professor Govinda Rao is not here. You see, he didn't mention one thing. GST is by its very nature regressive. The burden of taxation is much higher on the poor. Now, how do you address that? You can address it only on the expenditure side. The state governments have a responsibility to correct that. That's the added urgency of that. So if Karnataka says, we will supply 5 kilos of free rice, I wouldn't blame them. I would say they are basically addressing that problem. Or if they are saying that we will give free rice to the women, just buy it. It is the choice which the Karnataka government makes because there is a demand for that. So give them, allow them to do that. So, but if you have to do that, they have to have that own revenue. So it's important that your GST is tweaked to allow for that. Thank you very much.
Chairman of the session, Dr. Nataraj, Dr. Narayan, luminaries before the dais, and my friends. Dr. Narayan has reduced my burden. Before going to the subject, I feel hesitant to talk before a scholar par excellence, Dr. Nataraj, a senior most person for us. I feel pygmy before him. Even then, still, I dare to present my submissions briefly because already whatever elaborations I wanted to make, Dr. Narayan has very clearly and effectively presented. That is one. Therefore, I don't go for any presentation, but my presentations will be in a socio-economic and political issue like this delimitation of parliamentary seats. The state's disparity is playing a foul in the decision making. He has already said southern India from all points of view is put in a disadvantageous point of view, disadvantageous position. Okay. Not only this, the disparity is very wide. Among the states, within the districts, and within the regions also. For example, Delhi, of course, we shall not take states' GDP, but it is important to note that Delhi has a very high per capita income. You may not believe 4,01,768 rupees. Whereas a state in the bottom, Bihar, this is in the top. State in the bottom, Bihar, has only 49,860, which is less than 1 lakh. A runners-up state, Karnataka, is far behind 278,168. I'm giving you the Central Statistical Organization. I beg pardon, in 2021-22, the figures I quoted now. So it is far behind. Second number among the top 5 is very far from the top number 1. Along with Bihar, there are 3 states, Jharkhand and Uttar Pradesh, which are still below 1 lakh per capita income. What to do with this? Why is the difference? Why it has happened? Is it due to political decision-making center, or is it due to industrialization? If we take industrialization, Maharashtra should have gone. And latest, Bangalore is receiving, as Narayan said, Bangalore is receiving highest number of migrant labor, both skilled and it is again given by a Better Place research organization in the year 2021. Migrant labor. That is also a very important point for the disparities among the states. Then the resources have flown in a different proportion to different states. On the recommendations of the Finance Commission from 1st to 15th, most recently from 9th to 15th, with some differences. Okay. But decision taking power has remained with those states which have not developed themselves. For example, undivided UP had 85 members of Lok Sabha. Undivided Bihar had 64 members of Lok Sabha. Still, undivided MP had 40 members of Lok Sabha. Still, West Bengal had 42 members. Let us know our number. We have 28. In 71, till 71 we had 27. It is only 28. So, the decision-making representatives are from an area which doesn't have made any progress both in economic development and social development. Malnutrition, poverty alleviation, then the education. All these are the parameters of development. We study. But the states disparity I am talking. More number of representatives are there in the low development states, and very few or comparatively low number, reduced number of representatives in the parliament from comparatively developed states, rather high developed states. Why this? The center is the first in the country to initiate this discussion on delimitation of parliament members and even state legislature also. Both within the state and within the country, the disparities continue to be there. The number of hospitals, number of schools and colleges, number of IITs and IIMs. In this also we have difference. It doesn't mean that some states do not have economic resources. No. Economic resources are there in different areas of industry, agriculture, and other economic activity in all the states. But exploitation of those resources, utilization for development, all that is to be done by our decision, political decision makers. I believe we are catching this point. So, the number of political decision makers representing different states should be changed, we believe. I for one believe that. And southern states, as Narayan presented it very effectively, have done very well in population control. But their representation goes down and down. Even in 26 or I don't know, or we don't know. And we have very lot of time to discuss and recommend to the government throughout the country, academicians, administrators, and all of us, that they may not take decision in 26, or they may go for census in 31, or whether the government goes for census in the coming years in this decade or not, we don't know. Government is not at all showing any inclination to conduct census. And census gives the wider variety of statistics required for decision making. All development, underdevelopment, etc., etc. So, it is necessary for us to change, if at all possible, or at least we can recommend how. I have one submission, whether it is right or wrong, I don't know. I feel like suggesting that, as we know, parliament membership is decided on the population. Okay. It was done earlier. Now it is about to be done, but we have to effectively represent to the government by way of our discussions, resolutions, etc., that you change this criteria. Okay, you take it. And we have one more thing. We have got smaller states also. Very small states are coming up. Even now, some states are going to be divided and they want statehood. Some parts want statehood. They may be still smaller. And we have a combination of very big states like UP. We don't know whether further UP may have some other small state within that. Anyway, and very small states like Goa and central territory like Lakshadweep. All of them constitution makers. Dr. Ambedkar said, one man, one vote, and all the communities must be represented. All the communities he had in mind both socio-economic communities. if I'm not wrong. If I'm not wrong. And then, why should we not suggest that you decide the total number as in the morning there was a mention that the new Parliament House is constructed accommodating almost 1,000 representatives. We don't know whether they are going to increase to 1,000 or not. Let them increase, because our keynote speaker said it was something like 7 lakh somewhere else earlier in 50, 60. Then it went to 1 million, 10 lakhs. And in the 2019 election, it was 17 lakh, 1.7 million. And it is going to be reduced to original level or so. We don't know. And whether it is necessary or not, we shall have to discuss further. So you decide the total number of people, representatives in Lok Sabha as well as in Rajya Sabha. And then, after providing a number of representatives for reservation of SCs and STs, that should continue so long as the untouchability continues to be there in India, in any corner of the country. That should, we are unanimous about it, because it is continuing, and castes are becoming very rather rigid now and more effective now. Maybe we shall not take it now. Therefore, after taking out a fair representation to SCs and STs, the remaining number of future parliamentarians, whether Lok Sabha members or so, they may be divided among the states on various criteria. I submit this, and I want to conclude, because the disparities we may go on discussing. One criterion may be for about 10 to 15% or 20% the area of the state. Maybe the second criterion, another 10 to 15% for population of the state. The percentage of population of the state taken as part of national population. Then the efforts to the poverty alleviation, we have statistical tools, indices. Recently, our Niti Ayoga published multidimensional poverty index. And in that, they said the poverty percentage has gone down in the country. But in some states, it is still higher. In some states, it is in Kerala and Karnataka, Gujarat, it may be lower. And they have also given that in rural area, poverty has gone down comparatively more. Whether it is true or not, it might be due to migration of poor families to urban areas in search of jobs and livelihood. We are seeing in Mysore a number of roadside shops are selling vegetables, the fruits, and number of others. And almost they are equal to the shops in the posh building, you know very well. So we may have some percentage to poverty alleviation, educational growth, health services growth, like that. These parameters can be used to decide the number of representatives in the state. Therefore, now I conclude my submission with thanks to the organizers for inviting me, and to the chair, the co-speakers, and to all of you for patiently listening to me. Thank you, all of you, very much.
now start complaining. Complain all these stuff. You go to Chennai station and the side is full of workers, very low workers, getting down, supporting the economy. And then question is asked. Now, the real issue that is very not asking that federation states that you want to have this voice. Everyone has where political intolerance other than economic. So therefore, I would like to appeal that we must have all these things, whether it be dollars, whether it be if you would always say right, there's the cost of the trade. That is if we can come down only to start doing all the states equal area, equal population space. That's not possible. We all pay for substantial, everything that wants to be together. We not want us to have some space and us to have some separate space. So there are many mechanisms in following the cost of paying people. But we did a couple of plastic. Not the same. We were looking at big crores of the well, here we 7 crores today. Now, not all now in Kerala, start complaining that Karnataka is taking a larger share of our revenue because they have a larger population. Then we can Kerala for them. So I think we should take the more balance. Some states not able from and thank you very much.
No. I'll our next round. I know Nagaraj. So because I want to give some weight for his question. Yeah. Let me begin answering from the end. First, Mr. Joshi's Joshi, right? Yeah. His question. Now, I take objection to your using the word penalize those states. Who should penalize? In a democracy, do we want that? Huh? I don't think, no, we have been talking about center penalizing the state. Do you want that? I don't think we should, that argument can be dangerous. So this is my submission. Then your point, why not Bihar state provide jobs? Which government provides jobs? Even your Karnataka, how many jobs does the government provide? Your strength of your civil bureaucracy is just 5 lakhs. So jobs are actually provided by people like Srinivas Murthy. So let us recognize that. And the governments should basically create the condition for that. So these are some of the basic facts. So let us be very careful. Then I agree with you, Mr. Srinivas, that, finance commissions, by and large, that is why I quoted that, 2 quotations, Rockwell and others. You see, they have a very important responsibility in a country of our size and our diversity. So, and they don't have very little time. Ideally, a finance commission should be, my own view, it should have a longer term, a 5-year term. They get hardly 1 year with this voluminous, whatever, submissions and all that. And by and large, I think they do a wonderful job, a fair job. So we should, our hats off to, the sort of pressure, for example, 15th Finance Commission face. Despite all that, the revenue deficit thing, relooking 14th Finance Commission recommendations, never done in the history of finance commissions in India. They stood up to that pressure. So, they are in fact remarkable men and women who have, taken our country forward. Hats off to them. I think. And you are quite right. All this Chief Minister's Conference, NDC, we used to hear all that, but obviously that's why I was emphasizing that point. But democracy, I think there is a deepening of democracy. Each state, people demand, and they have no hesitation in booting out somebody who doesn't deliver. So political parties have to be more responsible. So if there is a demand, they have to vote. Otherwise, they will lose. So it's a question of, self-preservation. And we can't blame them. And that's the process of deepening democracy. So that's an answer to your question. Do the states, are the voices of the states being heard? Voices of the states. Basically, the state governments have to listen or hear the voices of their people. And that's why we need to have more decentralization. In fact, the best example is, that somebody, I don't remember his full name, Mr. Singh, who had that problem registering a company. It is not the people sitting in Delhi who helped him out. It's your government in Bangalore. In no time, they attended to that. That's the sort of a thing that we want. And see, that's what is increasingly going to happen. Yeah. I didn't expect that question from the physicist. Yes. They seem to have an idea that we economists, we do not understand equations and numbers. They are better in that. No, but forget about that. You see, some of us also get trained in all that. And my suggestion is, I'm not going to answer your question. My suggestion is, please read that chapter in the Economic Survey 2016-17. I am pretty sure what you mentioned here, you will not repeat it if you read that chapter. That is my answer. Yes. Yes. Migration is always a very touchy issue. Horse, for them, their wealth is created by the migrants. They want, but they don't want the migrants. Then social issues, this issue. At the end of the day, let us be happy that we have a country like India with India's diversity. And we have this differential fertility sort of a regime. So that when Kerala, you have 20% elderly, you have a large pool of migrants who can fill that gap. Which other country has this free movement? Huh? Now you see, you must have been reading in recent past about China's worries. Huh? Population is not growing. They just don't know what to do because they don't have a easy migration sort of a policy. They don't accept people. Now suppose Kerala doesn't accept migrants, what will happen to Kerala's economy? Or don't have to go to Kerala. You faced that thing in Bangalore when you had that problem with what Assamese or migrants and all that a few years ago. Most of your services came to a grinding halt. And then you're all been saying that, now what do we do? So let us take it that seriously. Social issues, after all, at the end of the day, we are all one. Why do we make this distinction that we, they? Now let us say that in a few years down the line, your Karnataka, you see, you always look at Bangalore. Who created Bangalore? Would you say it is Karnataka alone who created Bangalore? So let us have many more models of Bangalore. Let us, somehow break this thing of we, they. Now you go around anywhere, the food we eat, is it the ragi mudde and all that many of our kids is eating? That is the sort of a thing. So I think, we have to accept that reality. Yes. No, that you can. No, voting and population census is very different. Let us not confuse. No, counting of the number of MLAs and all that. But voting, let us not confuse these things. You see, there is a problem with the enumeration of the numbers. In fact, you have a large number, neither are they counted there, nor are they counted here. That is a sort of a problem. It is not a problem of who votes. Let us not get into that. That's a slightly different issue. You might have been counted in the population census, but there is no guarantee that you will be an voter, because that requires a slightly different sort of a dynamics. So, yeah, also population census, the definitions are very clear. There is a very clear definition. Who gets enumerated, it's all there. And my own experience, you see, in fact, a large number of migrants will not be counted in population census. And that is something the states have to really address if they have to have that, population share going up. What happens is, imagine you have a building which it doesn't even have a kitchen, which it doesn't even have proper water supply, no toilets or anything, often rented out to these migrants. A room accommodating 5 to 6. It doesn't get billed as a house in the house list. And the people who are living in that room 5 to 6, they don't satisfy the definition of a household. They won't get counted in the population census. So in such cases, the numbers will not go up. But are they getting counted in population census their origin state? No, because they have to be there during that reference period. They are not there during that reference. These are issues which one has to look in carefully. That's all I'm trying to say. And numbers, you cannot dispute me. That is the numbers readily available in the public domain. That is what I have presented. I've shown the table so that anybody picks up those numbers, you will get the same sort of result. And so that basically you don't require a Narayana to prepare that table. Anybody can prepare because the data is publicly available. Then of course, your questions on that COVID. Yes, when COVID-19 happened and all that, there was a lot of migration back to the origins. But the numbers who have come after that, in fact, only going to increase. See, if your economy is thriving and enterprises, a large number of, in fact, I think you may confirm my sort of argument, because many of these enterprises, numbers have gone up because there are no local people available to do this. So as the economy has started reviving, many of them have come. So I don't think that is an issue. Then, all those things about Uttarakhand and all, it's all taken care. These are all the data that I have used. Is either from the Finance Commission data or Economic Survey data, all official figures. So I don't think one will make. After all, I'm a 70-year-old man. I have been in this business for 40 years. So don't expect me to make those mistakes. Yeah. Then about that railway ticket thing, please have a look at that 2016-17 economic survey. They have explained that entire methodology, how they have done it. So I don't think they will also do that mistake. Regular travels, yes, there are ways of addressing those. Thank you. I think in my presentation, I answered that question in a very different way. In fact, my proposal was go with the current sort of a thing, but allow the states to have a higher rate. So that actually addresses what you just said. So we don't have to say 60% for the state. Allow the state to have a higher ST. So that takes care of it. Because this sharing, there is another slight problem, which is not highlighted. You see, now there is lot of interstate trade. What we consume here is not produced here. So, but what we consume here, that means what we purchase here, our consumers are paying that money. So the total tax on that particular good should flow to this state. But if it has to flow to this state, all the intermediate steps in which the tax has been collected, that's not in Karnataka, in other states, that should flow through the IGST into Karnataka. But what has happened is that, as you all know, IGST had a non-settled portion after giving over to the states. In the first year, it is something like 47% of the total IGST collection. Then, of course, they distributed pro rata basis. That has actually no basis at all when it comes to GST. But now 47% now has come down to about 30%. But even 30% non-settled means what should ideally flow to the states are not flowing to the state. That is the problem. That is what, so it is and the center is not bothered about it because center just straight away collects 50% of it. So the states are not able to get it because in this return filing, there are certain things which are not filled. And that is the part of the reason why state this non-settled portion. You see, the very fact that a non-settled portion exists means there is some problem somewhere. Now, ideally, the center should have taken care to see to it that gradually this is addressed through the design of the returns and proper filing of the returns by the dealers or traders or whosoever it is. But this is neglected, and that is a major problem. I hope I have. Yeah. I have no idea. Okay, okay. So I don't. Yeah. Yeah.
So let me explain. If we put pressure, the center state together and agree upon having uniform tax, direct tax. Is not being it was the states of Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, which were moved by different political parties that oppose and delay instead of this. As a representative of Karnataka, even though Karnataka government also belongs to the state party, we were willing to join Tamil Nadu. Everybody said center state must have equal all the taxation. All those people, they had asked that you must have simple 50-50% of tax And whatever sales takes place within our state, the tax, state, GST, is entirely ours, not doing it again. Entire. Don't be separate GST, which goes to their tax. So there is a lot of argument for simplifying the GST, etc., as I mentioned. There are some particular issues, but the principle has been universally accepted by all the states, and to that extent, it amounts to the regular process. But this is something that should be agreed upon by all states. Voluntarily, forced, because the overall interest of promoting economic development. One thing is that people can do business in any state, otherwise there will be competition between states to offer lower and lower tax. And to say, waste the water, the tax, the state, and that will not work equally. Thank you.
So let me just add one point. It's not impossible to have different rates in different states. No, let me. In fact, Canada is the best example. You know, the Canadian system, the center used to collect 6% GST and allowed the states to have their own rates, the provinces. Some didn't have any GST because they had other revenues. Some had some rate, a very low rate. Some, for example, a province like Quebec, they collected both the central GST as well as their GST and paid the 6% to the center, the federal government. Of course, that 6 has now become 5. So, you know, it is especially now that, you know, we are on top of the digital world. You know, we are the leader. So tweaking GSTN should not be a problem. So I think it should be possible so that, you know, states are also happy that we are given the freedom to do what we want. I think at the end of the day, cooperative federalism means that, no, both should be happy. So, no, you are confusing. It is regressive. I hold on to that. Just, no, let No, 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 no. I have to say, you see, one thing may be efficient. All your long narration, how does it dispute the fact that GST is regressive? There was not even one sentence which disputed the regressiveness of GST. That's all I would.
Everybody wants to go home. I certainly want to go home. Thank you very much. I also have some slight dispute with you, Dr. Narayana. I think you're a little too sanguine about migration estimates compensating for other kinds of losses. I don't have the competence to question you on methodology, but I think perhaps it's a little too innocent to assume that it will be balanced. And then I have my doubts about it. One other small point to Ravi Joshi. You know, I agree with Dr. Narayana. It is not the business of the state to provide employment because the state does not provide employment. No, just 1 second. You see, also remember that migrants do jobs which the local population does not want to do. You are so well traveled. You go to Heathrow Airport. It is proud Sardaranis who do the sweeping and swabbing, but they do it in English. Or Kasakusazana, they use a mop. So, you know, migration is a very complex affair to understand. But I would like to thank both of you for your presentations and also for the very fairly tough discussion which is followed. Thank you all. There is a suggestion, General Mohammed Kere, that we meet a little Dr. Somshekhar, would you please allow me to finish? Please, please. There is a suggestion that we meet a little earlier tomorrow morning, not at 10:30. What do you say? Huh? Shall we say that tomorrow we meet at 10 o'clock? Okay. Then, all right, okay, then the status quo is maintained. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Now we are in the final stage this session. Now I would like to thank Dr. D. Narayana for providing valuable thought-provoking information about the topic. Thank you, sir. Now I would like to thank Professor R.M. Chintamani for providing such a wonderful information about the topic. Thank you, sir. I would also extend my thanks to Professor V.K. Natraj for presidential remarks. Thank you, sir. I would also extend my thanks to both the online and offline participants, professors, media persons, research scholars, and students. Thank you so much for attending this session. I hope today's discussion will help you to understand interstate conflicts and some of the solutions to solve the problems. With this second session is over. Thank you one and all. ನಾಳೆ ಗೋಷ್ಠಿ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ತಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ಭಾಗವಹಿಸಿ ಯಶಸ್ವಿಗೊಳಿಸಬೇಕೆಂದು ಕೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತೇನೆ. ಹಾಗೆ ಈಗ ಚಹಾ ಮತ್ತು ಲಘು ಉಪಹಾರ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ ಇದೆ, ಸ್ವೀಕರಿಸಿ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.